Putin warned America by approving Russia's nuclear law. The Ministry of Defense of Russia has announced that Ukraine has fired a missile sent to it from the United States into Russian territory for the first time. Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent a new warning message to the United States. The Kremlin announced that the president had approved the amended law limiting the use of Russian nuclear weapons. The Russian Ministry of Defense announced in a statement today that Ukraine has been attacked by missiles sent from the United States into Russian territory for the first time. President Joe Biden yesterday approved a request that Kyiv has been asking for months to allow the missiles sent from the West to attack Russia. The decision shows that the United States and NATO member states have launched a war against Russia, the Kremlin said, adding that President Putin had urged Washington to refrain from actions that would trigger a nuclear war. The U.S. missile ATACMS, which is said to have hit a Russian military base in the Bryansk region and has a range of 300 kilometers, has escalated the conflict between Washington and Moscow. Russia has been announcing that it will revise its nuclear law in 2020, and the day after Biden gave approval to Kyiv, Putin approved the revision, Reuters reported. The amendment included the idea that non-nuclear weapon states would be considered to have launched a joint attack on Moscow if they attacked Russia in cooperation with nuclear weapon states. Russia's rules clearly set out when to use its nuclear weapons, allowing it to begin using the destructive weapons if it comes under cross-border missile, air, or drone attacks. The approved Nuclear Use Act also shows that Moscow may use its nuclear weapons if its ally Belarus is invaded and attacked with conventional weapons. About 88% of the world's nuclear weapons are produced in Russia and the United States. President Putin previously said, "Nuclear is the most important option to protect the security of our citizens and to adjust the balance of the world system. The West should avoid playing with fire," he warned. Today marks the 1,000th anniversary of the Ukraine conflict, which has drawn Russia and the West into the deadliest conflict since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. The U.S. Embassy in Ukraine was closed due to the Russian attack. The embassy issued a warning to protect yourselves from air attacks. The Russian-Ukrainian war, which has moved into a new phase, is still ongoing, especially after the U.S. allowed Ukraine to use long-range weapons to hit Moscow. Both countries are using airstrikes in addition to ground forces, and the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv has announced that it will be closed for a day. According to the warning issued by the embassy, the staff of the embassy is also urged to protect themselves from air attacks while they are there. The embassy said it had received information that Russia would carry out airstrikes today and told Americans to take shelter in a safe place if they heard the alarm. Russia, on the other hand, says that allowing Britain and France, including the United States, to use long-range weapons in Ukraine is an indication that NATO is directly involved in this war. Ukraine has also launched an attack on Russia using long-range weapons, and President Putin has threatened to retaliate. The president also signed a law allowing for a nuclear response to Ukraine's attack, Reuters reported. With only 2 months left in his term, the current U.S. president authorized long-range weapons for Ukraine, and many feared that a third world war might break out. Many American politicians, including President-elect Donald Trump, opposed President Biden's decision. Netanyahu said that Hamas will not rule Gaza after the war. Netanyahu said this while visiting Gaza with Israel's defense minister and army chief to review the ongoing operation in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Hamas will not rule Gaza after Israel's war to destroy Hamas military capabilities is over. Israel is trying to find the whereabouts of 101 hostages believed to be alive in Gaza, Netanyahu said, promising a $5 million reward for the return of one hostage. "He who dares to harm our hostages will get the price. We will save him," said Netanyahu. Netanyahu stated that anyone who comes with hostages will be allowed to leave the besieged Gaza with their families. "Choose. The choice is yours. But we're bound to find the hostages later." Netanyahu said this while he was in Gaza to review the ongoing operation in Gaza with Israel's defense minister and army chief. In October last year, Hamas crossed the Israeli border, killing 1,200 people and abducting 250 others. Following this, the number of Palestinians killed by Israel's intensive air and infantry attacks has exceeded 43,000. Some of the hostages were exchanged for Palestinian prisoners under Qatar's mediation, but most are still believed to be in the hands of Hamas. Efforts by Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S. to establish a ceasefire in Gaza have failed. Hamas's demand for the withdrawal of the Israeli army from Gaza and Israel's desire to control the security situation in Gaza in the long run became the main reason for the failure of the negotiations. Israel has said that it will pay $5 million for every citizen kidnapped by Hamas. It will be remembered that the Palestinian Hamas abducted 250 Israelis a year ago. A war broke out in the Middle East after Hamas, which declared that it would fight for the independence of Palestine 13 months ago, launched an unexpected attack on Israel. Israel has repeatedly stated that it will end this war only after all hostages are released and Hamas is no longer a threat to Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that 34 of the 250 hostages have been confirmed dead and 97 are still being held hostage by Hamas, according to Reuters. Prime Minister Netanyahu said in his speech in Palestine that he is ready to pay $5 million to free the Israeli hostages. It has been stated that the Israeli army will continue the attack if the hostages are released from their lives or their bodies. The Prime Minister mentioned that $5 million will be paid to each of the Israelis kidnapped by Hamas. The Prime Minister, who appeared in military uniforms wearing emergency and bulletproof clothing, said that Hamas will never be able to rule Gaza again. As a result of the Israel-Hamas war, more than 43,000 citizens have been killed on the Palestinian side, while 1,200 innocent people have been killed on the Israeli side, according to a UN report. The price of one Bitcoin reached $94,000. Currently, Bitcoin has reached its highest value in history. The United States, the world superpower, held presidential elections 3 weeks ago, and Republican Donald Trump won by a wide margin. Donald Trump, in his comments about Bitcoin 3 years ago, called it a scam and is now known to be a major supporter of Bitcoin. Trump, who has publicly stated that he is a fan of Bitcoin, even accepted Bitcoin donations for his election campaign. As a result, the value of virtual currencies such as Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies is increasing. Currently, the price of one Bitcoin is listed at $94,000, and it is expected that it may increase to $100,000 in the next few months. It has also been reported that Donald Trump's majority-owned affiliate Truth Social is in talks to buy Bakkt, a cryptocurrency company. It is remembered that Donald Trump has said that he wants to make America the world's Bitcoin trading center. In addition, Trump said he would offer tax breaks and other incentives to encourage transactions like Bitcoin. Donald Trump's administration, which is expected to take office in mid-January, continues to select cabinet members, including Ellen Field, who are expected to appoint officials who support cryptocurrency transactions.